Court decision is out, which obviously didn't go in your favor. I want to start by asking what this means now for your family. Will you no longer take your children back to the UK?
The decision has been a surprise as well as not a surprise. For the time being, it's impossible for me to take my family back to the UK.
For years, the royal spotlight has been shadowed by whispers of tension, but nothing shocks the public more than words that pierce the palace walls. When Prince Harry made his latest statement, the world froze, ears straining, hearts racing. Meghan's tear-streaked face spoke volumes, yet the full story remained hidden. Was this confession a revelation of betrayal, pain, or something even more explosive? Behind the gilded doors of royalty, secrets long buried have finally surfaced, and the UK is left utterly speechless. The world-stopping announcement. The room reportedly went quiet, in a way that felt heavy and unnatural the moment Prince Harry spoke. There was no warning, no careful build-up, and no familiar royal wording meant to soften the blow. According to those close to the situation, he simply said it, calmly, clearly, and without drama. His marriage to Meghan Markle was ending. With that single sentence, a relationship the world had watched grow, struggle, and transform was suddenly brought to a halt. This was not the usual kind of royal gossip that whispers its way through tabloids before quietly disappearing. There were no vague hints, no anonymous friends dropping clues, no carefully planted leaks. The message was direct and unmistakable, and because of that, it landed hard. Around the world, people paused mid-scroll. Phones buzzed non-stop. News alerts flashed across screens. A story once celebrated as proof that love could break old rules was now being retold as something far more fragile and painful. For years, Harry and Meghan had represented hope to millions. To their supporters, they were brave. Two people who chose each other over tradition, honesty over silence, and personal peace over royal approval. Their wedding had felt like a breath of fresh air for a monarchy often seen as distant and unchanging. It suggested growth, openness, and a new path forward. Now, that hopeful picture felt cracked. This was not a quiet ending behind closed doors. It was a public unraveling of a modern fairy tale. Inside Buckingham Palace, the atmosphere reportedly changed almost instantly. The usual sense of order gave way to careful silence. Staff members became more guarded, aware that even the smallest misstep could spark public reaction. Meanwhile, media houses across the globe rushed into action. From London to New York, analysts dissected every word, searched for hidden meaning, and tried to predict what would come next. Online, guesses spread faster than confirmed facts. Some blamed unrelenting pressure. Others pointed to old interviews, past disagreements, or the exhausting reality of living under constant public attention. Yet beneath all the noise and speculation was a quieter, more emotional concern. Two young children caught in the middle. Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet suddenly became part of a conversation they never asked to join. Questions quickly followed. Where would they grow up? How would their parents protect their privacy? Would they be raised between different worlds and expectations? For many observers, thoughts of the children mattered more than royal titles or family politics. Their well-being became the heart of the story. The announcement also reopened bigger questions about the monarchy itself. In a world that increasingly challenges tradition and inherited privilege, what does another public family fracture mean? Can an institution built on stability continue to stand firm when its personal struggles play out so openly? Even though Harry stepped back from royal duties years ago, his connection to the crown still carries power. Changes in his life echo far beyond his own household and ripple through public memory. Then there is the issue of legacy. The British royal family has faced wars, scandals, and painful internal conflicts before. What has kept it alive is its ability to adjust, even if slowly and imperfectly. This moment presents another test. Will the response be silence, carefully worded statements, or real change? And when future generations look back, how will they remember this chapter in the long history of the House of Windsor? All of this grew from a single, unexpected statement. What started as one man speaking his truth has become a worldwide discussion about love, duty, freedom, and tradition. Emotions are clashing under the sharp glare of public attention, and answers are still unclear. Is this the closing of a chapter, or the start of something entirely new? No one knows yet. What is certain is that the world is watching closely, and this story is nowhere near its final page. Why would Harry be making such an announcement at this moment? Have they been struggling in their marriage before now? What was their wedding like? Let's find out. The fairy tale that wasn't meant to break. Harry and Meghan's journey did not begin quietly. It burst onto the world stage like a dazzling headline that refused to fade. When Prince Harry, long known as the charming rebel of the royal family and the deeply sensitive son of Princess Diana, fell in love with Meghan Markle, the story felt almost cinematic. Here was a prince shaped by loss and public scrutiny, choosing a partner who came from a completely different world: Hollywood, activism, and a multiracial American background. To many, their relationship looked like a breath of fresh air blowing through the ancient halls of the British monarchy. Their 2018 wedding at St. George's Chapel was more than a royal ceremony.
Wedding in Britain in years. St. George's Chapel, where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will tie the knot.
It was a global moment. Millions watched as tradition met change. The presence of a black preacher, the powerful choir, and Meghan's calm confidence sent a message that the monarchy could evolve. For supporters, this was not just about romance. It was about representation, inclusion, and the idea that even the most traditional institutions could open their doors wider. Harry and Meghan seemed to embody hope, a modern fairy tale where love overcame rigid customs. Yet beneath the glitter and applause, cracks were already forming. The same qualities that drew Harry and Meghan together also placed them on a collision course with royal life. Harry had always struggled with expectations placed on him as the spare, living in the shadow of duty while craving personal freedom. Meghan, on the other hand, was used to speaking openly, advocating for causes she believed in, and controlling her public image. Stepping into a royal system built on silence, hierarchy, and unspoken rules required a kind of surrender neither of them fully anticipated. Almost immediately, signs of tension appeared. Disagreements arose over royal duties, treatment of staff, and how to handle the relentless media attention. For the monarchy, neutrality is sacred. Royals are expected to stand above politics and activism. For Meghan, using her voice felt natural and necessary. This clash of values created frustration on both sides. What seemed like small misunderstandings slowly grew into deeper divides, revealing just how difficult it was to blend a modern, outspoken identity with an institution rooted in restraint. The media, especially the British tabloids, played a powerful role in intensifying these struggles. Every gesture, outfit, or comment was examined, criticized, and often twisted into controversy. Meghan became a frequent target, with coverage that many felt crossed into cruelty. For Harry, this was not just uncomfortable, it was terrifying. The constant flash of cameras and harsh headlines echoed the painful memories of his mother's life and death. He saw history repeating itself, and was determined not to let it end the same way. As a result, Harry's instinct to protect Meghan grew fierce. Together, they began to see themselves as standing alone against an uncaring system, both the media and, at times, the royal institution itself. This us-against-the-world mindset strengthened their bond in the early days. They leaned on each other for survival, finding comfort in shared defiance and mutual loyalty. But over time, that same mindset carried a cost. Living in constant defense mode is exhausting. When the outside world feels like an enemy, pressure builds inside the relationship too. What began as a love story full of promise slowly transformed into a tale of strain and resistance. The dream of reshaping the monarchy from within clashed with the reality of its limits. Harry and Meghan's story remains compelling, not because it is perfect, but because it is deeply human. A story of love, hope, conflict, and the heavy price of trying to change an old world while standing in its spotlight. While many questioned Meghan's origin, many have cleared the air around her ancestry. Does Meghan truly have ancestors with any royal family? Let's delve into the details of a family story of love, exile, and royal irony. Meghan Markle's hidden Irish roots. Behind the calm smiles and carefully managed public image of Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, lies a family story that is far richer, older, and more dramatic than many people realize. Much has been said about her modern identity, her career, her voice, and her mixed heritage as the daughter of a white father and an African-American mother. Yet, tucked quietly behind this familiar narrative is a powerful European chapter of her ancestry, one shaped by struggle, forbidden love, and a twist of history so sharp it feels almost planned by fate. Today, Meghan lives a quieter but closely watched life in California with her husband, Prince Harry, and their children, Archie and Lilibet. Though they have stepped away from royal duties, their lives still unfold under intense public attention. Cameras follow them, opinions trail them, and every move is measured against royal tradition. But long before interviews, headlines, and palace walls, Meghan's ancestors were living through battles of their own, quiet, personal struggles that carried real danger and lasting pain. At the heart of this forgotten history stands one remarkable woman, Meghan's great-great-great-grandmother, Mary McCaig. Mary was born in 1829 to Irish Catholic parents in County Galway and later raised in Belfast. This was a hard and bitter time in Ireland. British rule weighed heavily on daily life. Poverty was widespread, religious tensions ran deep, and anger simmered beneath the surface. To many Irish Catholics, British soldiers did not represent safety or order. They represented loss, control, and injustice. It was within this tense and painful world that Mary made a choice that would change everything. She fell in love with Thomas Bird, a British soldier. What might sound like a simple love story today was, at that time, a shocking act. To Mary's family and community, this relationship crossed an unforgivable line. Marrying a man who wore the uniform of the empire they blamed for their suffering felt like betrayal. Family stories suggest that when Mary chose Thomas, she was cut off completely. She lost the protection of her family and the comfort of belonging. In 1860, Mary and Thomas married in Dublin, choosing love over approval and courage over safety. Not long after, they left Ireland behind and moved to London. This journey was more than physical. It marked a clean break from Mary's past. She had given up her homeland, her family ties, and the world she knew, stepping instead into an uncertain future, shaped by sacrifice. Then history added its sharpest twist. In London, Mary found work inside the royal household at Windsor Castle, serving Queen Victoria herself. The irony is striking. An Irish Catholic woman, rejected for marrying a British soldier, ended up working for the very crown that ruled over Ireland. Even more astonishing is that generations later, her descendant would not serve the royal family, but marry into it. The marriage record of Mary and Thomas holds one small, yet powerful detail. Thomas did not sign his name. Instead, he marked the page with a simple X. He could not write. That single mark reveals the harsh class realities of the time. Thomas carried the weight of poverty and limited education, while Mary bore the pain of exile and rejection. Their love story was not elegant or celebrated. It was fragile, difficult, and deeply human. Together, Mary and Thomas lived a life shaped by loss and strength, separation and survival. Long before Meghan walked into palace halls as a duchess, her family had already brushed against royalty in a quieter, humbler way. Love crossed enemy lines. Loyalty was tested, and history, in its strange symmetry, found a way to repeat itself. In many ways, Meghan's journey did not begin with a royal wedding watched by millions. It began generations earlier, with a young Irish woman who chose love over fear and paid a heavy price for that choice. How, when, and where did their marriage begin to wear off? What happened? Where did they get things wrong? Let's dive into the details of the pressure cooker marriage. From royal duties to global stardom. In 2020, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle made a decision that shook the British monarchy and captured the world's attention. They announced they were stepping back as senior working royals, choosing to leave behind palace life and relocate to North America. To many, the move looked bold and liberating. It was framed as an escape from relentless media pressure, rigid royal traditions, and a system they felt no longer protected them. At its heart, the decision was about reclaiming control over their privacy, their voices, and their future. At first glance, the move seemed to solve the biggest problem they faced. No more daily royal duties, no more living under constant palace supervision, no more being bound by centuries-old expectations. Harry and Meghan could finally build a life on their own terms. But as time unfolded, it became clear that while they had left the palace, they had not left the spotlight behind. In fact, they may have stepped into an even brighter one. Starting over in a new country is difficult for any couple. For Harry and Meghan, the challenge was multiplied by fame, security concerns, financial pressure, and global attention. They were no longer supported by the royal system, yet the world still expected royal-level access to their lives. To sustain their new independence, they turned to media ventures, signing deals, telling their story, and sharing their side of events. Ironically, the very tools meant to give them freedom began to tie them more tightly to public scrutiny. High-profile projects followed. There were documentaries with Netflix, a widely watched interview with Oprah Winfrey, and Harry's deeply personal memoir, Spare. Each release promised closure, clarity, or healing. Yet instead of drawing a line under the past, they reopened old wounds, again and again. Every revelation sparked debates, backlash, sympathy, and criticism. The cycle never seemed to end. This constant revisiting of pain placed enormous strain on their relationship. Marriages thrive on growth, shared dreams, and forward movement. But when a couple's public identity becomes rooted in past hurt and unresolved conflict, progress becomes harder. Psychologists and relationship experts often warn that building a bond mainly around shared grievances or a common enemy is risky. It can unite people in the short term, but without a new positive purpose, that unity can weaken over time. In Harry and Meghan's case, much of their shared narrative centered on what they had escaped: the royal family, the media, and the pressures of monarchy. While these experiences were real and deeply personal, repeatedly reliving them in public meant the couple stayed emotionally anchored to the very world they wanted to leave behind. Their love story, once celebrated as a modern fairy tale, slowly became inseparable from controversy and spectacle. Another challenge was the blending of personal healing with public performance. Healing is usually quiet, private, and slow, but their healing unfolded on global stages, in front of millions. Every interview, every project, and every headline invited opinions from strangers. This level of exposure can exhaust even the strongest relationships, turning private struggles into public debates. What makes their story so compelling is not just the fame involved, but what it reveals about modern life. In the age of social media and non-stop news, walking away is no longer simple. Visibility follows you. Freedom, it turns out, has its own price. For Harry and Meghan, independence came with the pressure to constantly explain, defend, and justify their choices. In the end, their journey stands as a powerful lesson. Love alone is not always enough when fame, trauma, and public expectation collide. What began as a hopeful escape gradually became a cautionary tale about the limits of public storytelling, the weight of unresolved pain, and the complex cost of marrying into royalty in a world that never stops watching. What has Meghan Markle said since Harry's announcement? Did she reject the announcement? Did she defend herself? Let's dig into the details of Meghan's subtle way of control. Silence, strategy, and the power of control. Meghan's response, or rather, her clear choice not to respond, said more than any long speech or polished press release ever could. After Prince Harry's announcement shook the media, many people waited for an instant reaction from Meghan Markle. A social media post, a formal statement, a carefully leaked quote. None of that happened. What followed instead was silence, steady, intentional, and impossible to ignore. In today's world, where every word can be pulled apart, misread, or turned into a weapon, silence can be a form of strength. Meghan's quiet is not confusion, fear, or weakness. It is control. By choosing not to speak right away, she refuses to play a game that often punishes honesty and rewards outrage. She avoids reacting while emotions are raw. She gives herself room to think clearly, to breathe, to ask for advice, and to decide what truly deserves to be shared, if anything at all. That pause matters. Once words are released into the public space, they no longer belong to the speaker. They are cut into headlines, twisted into debates, and repeated without context. By waiting, Meghan keeps ownership of her story. She moves at her own pace, not at the speed of breaking news alerts or online speculation. At the heart of this decision are her children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. Separation is hard for any family, but this one lives under constant public attention. Children do not choose fame, yet they often pay the highest price for it. By refusing to engage in public arguments or blame games, Meghan protects them from becoming public symbols in a private family matter. She draws a boundary between their childhood and the world's hunger for drama. Silence also creates something rare: privacy. It allows space to feel without performing. Behind closed doors, emotions are likely layered and complex: sadness, relief, fear, hope, and uncertainty all at once. Staying quiet gives Meghan the chance to process those feelings as a person first, not as a public figure expected to deliver perfect lines. From a strategic point of view, it also leaves nothing for critics to attack. No quote to misinterpret, no sentence to debate. The noise has nowhere to land. Across the ocean, within the walls of Buckingham Palace, the response has been careful and calm, at least on the surface. This kind of moment is not new to the royal family. King Charles III, shaped by his own painful experience with a very public divorce, is believed to be offering quiet guidance. The lesson he learned the hard way is simple: protect the children, move slowly, and never let private pain become public entertainment. Once words are spoken, they cannot be taken back. For Prince William, the situation carries a different weight. There is the sorrow of a brother watching distance grow, mixed with responsibility and duty. He must balance personal feelings with his role as a future king. It is not just a family matter for him, it touches the image and stability of the monarchy itself. Other senior royals are offering support in quieter ways. Princess Anne, known for her practical and steady nature, is likely helping behind the scenes. Queen Consort Camilla, who has faced intense public judgment herself, understands how harsh public opinion can be. Together, they show unity, not because everything is easy or settled, but because unity is how the family protects itself. In the end, what leaves the strongest impression is not the statements released, but the ones withheld. Meghan's silence, the palace's restraint, and the family's careful steps all point to one truth: some stories are too delicate to be shouted. By choosing quiet over chaos, they remind the world that beyond the crowns and headlines are real people, hurting, protecting their children, and trying, in their own way, to hold life together. What are they saying or doing about their innocent children? Did they consider their future in the struggle? How would the innocent children cope with the mess caused by their parent? Let's find out. The innocent lives caught in royal crossfire. At the center of this unfolding global story are two young lives who never asked to be part of history's loudest conversations: Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. From the moment they were born, the world placed a spotlight on them. They entered life wrapped in privilege, titles, and tradition, yet they are growing up far away from palace gates and royal routines. Their reality is a rare blend: an American upbringing shaped by freedom and privacy, mixed with a British royal heritage steeped in ceremony, duty, and public expectation. This unusual mix alone would be a challenge for any child, but the separation of their parents has added a deeper layer of complexity. Questions now arise that go far beyond ordinary family matters. How will custody work across continents? How will co-parenting look when one parent's roots are tied to centuries-old traditions, while the other embraces a more modern, independent path? These are issues no royal rulebook has clearly addressed before, making Archie and Lilibet's situation truly without precedent. These children are not growing up quietly. Every milestone, first words, first school, first public appearance, is watched, discussed, and sometimes debated by people they will never meet. Their link to the monarchy brings expectations they did not choose. Questions of security, identity, and public responsibility follow them wherever they go. Even in moments meant to be private, the weight of history lingers in the background. With that level of attention comes risk, pressure, and a constant awareness that their lives are, in some way, shared with the world. As Archie and Lilibet grow older, they will slowly begin to understand that their family story is not just personal. It is global. Interviews, books, documentaries, and headlines will shape the narrative long before they are old enough to tell it themselves. Psychologists and child development experts often warn that children in such environments need steady emotional grounding. They need honesty, reassurance, and guidance that helps them separate who they are from what the world says about them. Without that support, the noise of public opinion can become overwhelming. In many ways, these two children represent more than a family situation. They are living symbols of a dream that did not fully survive reality. Their parents' love story once promised a bridge between tradition and modern life, between palace walls and personal freedom. The separation now raises difficult questions about Archie and Lilibet's future relationship with the royal family and the British monarchy as a whole. Will they feel connected to that world? Will it feel distant, confusing, or even burdensome? The answers remain unclear. What is certain is that the choices made today will echo for decades. The way their parents handle this transition, how they protect, communicate, and cooperate, will shape how Archie and Lilibet see family, trust, and belonging. They will one day look back and piece together their story from memories and media, from lived experience and public record. That process will require resilience, compassion, and a strong sense of self. The wider story of Harry and Meghan, known globally as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, is more than celebrity news. It is a modern tale of love-meeting tradition, of ambition colliding with expectation, and of cultural differences playing out under relentless public scrutiny. What began like a fairy tale slowly transformed into a lesson about pressure, identity, and survival in the digital age. In the end, this saga is not just about royalty or fame. It is about family, about parents trying to protect their children, about children growing up between worlds, and about the human cost of living life on a global stage. Archie and Lilibet's journey is still being written, but their story already serves as a powerful reminder. Behind every headline are real lives, quietly learning how to grow in the shadow of history. So, do you think Harry was right to have divorced Meghan? Can he ever mend the relationships and trust he has broken over these years? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.